Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Dual Hearts. Our first task for the day, before we return to Sarti's dream and see what else we can take care of in the Colosseum, is to return to the ancient cavern. As you may recall, we picked up 99 rings, giving us 1,009 in total, which means we can pick up the second ring unlockable and the last collectible in the game, other than the ones that we get for 100% completion. So let's get this now. It's actually one of the most useful in the game, as I mentioned before, relative to when you get it, so I really want this before we go into the Colosseum, and you'll see why once I actually pick it up. Check out the sign. As opposed to the first item, which had a picture of Bumble, this one has a picture of the little Dual Hearts logo on it. There we go. You can also see it on the monolith itself as we pan down towards it. There it is. What are we getting here? We got the Bacchana Blade last time. This time it is the Sage's Amulet. Well, this item is in your inventory. Defense is doubled. Let's go find it. It's not in the other... Oops, nope. It's in the regular, the miscellaneous. Like a lot of dream rings, but it was worth it. Your defense doubles while this is in your possession. That's correct. Now, we actually have twice as much HP as before. As opposed to the usual Zelda game, it did seem odd that we always took exactly 1 point of health minimum from every attack, but that's not actually how the system works. It actually is possible to take half a point of health, and now that we have damage, and now that we have the Sage's Amulet, we will do so every time we get hit with what used to cause 1 point of damage. So effectively now we have 100 hit points, having 12 health jewels and 38 tummy points to top off of. Anyway, we have to get back to Sarti's dream now to explore the rest of the Colosseum challenges. So let's check out how we do this from Miktuve's dream. Sarti's crystal, I think, is actually one of the first ones we come across. So as opposed to having to worry about what time he's sleeping, we just jump right in. It's got a little picture of his face on it in case it wasn't obvious, with a little sign that said Sarti's dream, and the fact that we say it's Sarti's dream when we talked to it the first time. Anyway, yep, 27% complete. We only got the rings and the 1 piece of dream energy in the draw card for beating him the first time. Let's, no, let's not fight him. Let's fight weak enemies first. It seems easy enough. And Sarti agrees. So, there's 5 of these objectives. A lot of them are really similar. One of them we already took care of the first time around. Let's take care of the second one now. The third, fourth, and fifth are all identical except for the conditions in which you have to fight. This time we just have to kill those 4 hover drops, which are new enemies, and 2 Night Stalkers. It says they can steal items from the draw card, but I almost never actually use items in my draw card. In fact, right now all I have are the fire, ice, and lightning, so I have each element available to me without having to go search for Essamons. These guys are relatively annoying, because as opposed to a lot of enemies, similar to the pianos, they're extremely aggressive, and they attack pretty quickly. Especially when there are 4 of them, it's really easy for them to disrupt your attack plan. So what you want to do is equip the Arbalest and use the charge attack, which is perfect homing as long as you're locked on, and just sort of run away from them, and eventually you get a really good one. There we go. The Arbalest pierces, so you can hit several enemies at once, including the Night Stalkers if you're careful. The only flaw in this plan is that you have to be facing something to lock onto it, or at least for the game for locking onto it. So you are open up to hits while you wait for your character to face the enemy again, especially if he's running away and the camera isn't facing you. In any case, after a while, it's not too difficult to kill all 4 of them without taking too much damage, and then the Night Stalkers we've fought a million times already earlier in the game, so we just take care of them. Of course, they did a little pirouette attack, which I think is kind of funny. Makes them very susceptible to a combo. As you can see, we had 30 minutes to complete that battle, and it only took us about 2 1/4. There's that HP up behind the portcullis. Still haven't gotten in there. I wonder what unlocks that. Let's do some more. What else is there? There's a bunch of different options for us. Let's skip to the 4th one, which forces you to fight without Bumble. This is actually pretty serious, because it took me a while to realize this, but this means I can't top off my health. It means my HP is reduced by 3/4, which is effectively... well, it's a lot. That was actually really scary when I hit this point right here in the fight, after I killed about half the enemies that we have to kill, 30 in total, and realized that I couldn't top my health off. In fact, it means I only have 9 points left. The fight itself works like this. There are 6 of those little purple jelly drops that are pretty easy, not particularly aggressive. Each time you kill one of these red drops spawns. This fight works in a chain. Each time you kill one enemy, the next enemy up the chain spawns on the other side of the arena. The third enemy are these little fire drops we've got. We haven't actually seen these yet, and there's no introduction from Bumble. But what you need to do is hit them with an ice element attack, and then they become vulnerable. They're actually invulnerable to every attack until you put out their fire. After that, we get a hover drop. There's a bunch of ways we can address these. I was using the Arbalest in the previous fight because that's the easiest way to fight them while running, but they're susceptible to a bunch of other things, including the spear, charge attack, and the hammer in general. I'm using the fire element here. They're not weak to fire, but it stuns them in place, which prevents them from attacking, and it's the element I have the easiest time determining when the hit stun is over and they're vulnerable again to attack. The 5th enemy in the chain is the Night Stalker, and the 6th is the Night Slayer. This is actually pretty simple. Somewhere in the middle, in the midst of fighting the 30 enemies that you have to fight to complete this objective, the spear reached level 4, meaning the attack power doubled, and there's a secondary effect that I'll show a little bit later, but that doesn't come into play right now. I do take a bunch of damage during this fight, which is relevant because I jump right into the next version, which also doesn't have Bumble in it, without being able to fill up my health, and I realized as I was doing this that this game is extremely stingy with health power-ups when you don't have Bumble available to you, or I should say when you have the ability to top off health anytime. Why would it give you hearts and HP restores all over the place? It's not really necessary. Until now, that is. So basically I started the next challenge at 7 health like I have right now. It was actually pretty scary, but we made it through. I'll get to that eventually. So this is the chain of 6. There are 5 purple jellies at the start, so 30 enemies in total. Let's kill this guy with a sword, because as it turns out, we're 1 experience point away from getting to level 4. So, this is what happens if you don't kill the enemies one at a time. It is actually quite simple to wind up with a bunch of Night Stalkers and Night Slayers chasing you, and they're not threatening as one by one, but as a group, they're quite the pain, especially when they do this and just surround you and chop at you from all sides. I did puzzle out how the chain worked during the first fight without Bumble. Obviously this is the previous fight, where we were still allowed to use him. Part of the problem is when they block, and one of them is guaranteed to be blocking at some point, they interrupt your combo, so even if you hit 3 or 4 of them at a time, which is nice, because considering how high a level our weapons are right now, we can kill them pretty quickly. We can't just sweep them with a level 3 spear charge attack that does that huge, like, chopping motion that kills everything in a pretty significant range. We do not have that available to us, unless we're very, very fortunate. Let's finish these 2 guys off. I think there's one floating around somewhere. Oh yeah, there was one Night Stalker in that group, so the Night Slayer hasn't spawned yet. Let's get back to the last version. This is the secondary effect of the level 4 weapons. As you can see, when I slash at a low health, which I am right now because I started this fight on only 7 bars of health and eventually took a hit, it fires a little ball of energy, which is nice. It's a good way to take out enemies without having to get too close to them. Let's finish this one off. This last Night Stalker. Night Slayer, rather. Check out how strong our weapons are. I think it only takes 3 combos to kill this guy. Now that the attack power of both our shield and our spear are doubled. Yep, 3 it is. The last version of this fight gives you a 10-minute time limit, which is obviously, again, more than enough to kill all these guys. Beat them. All 3 iterations, you get a dream energy for every single one. Giving us 62 in total. Nice. So let's fight some more. We fought all the weak enemies, or I should say, let's briefly just show the selection of things you can try. There it is. Fight with a time limit, fight a horde, fight without Bumble, fight the ultimate challenge, which is all 3, the time limit without Bumble, and a horde. Let's move on to fight strong enemies. This is the boss rush, more or less. You can fight any boss you've previously encountered in the game, and there's a good reason for doing this. You don't get a direct reward for beating things, but let's go check out Magdali's fight for one, and we'll see what's different. In a minute. Loading. As you can see in the distance, there's a gold Essamon in the back. Every single one of these boss fights has a single gold Essamon and a single tummy up fragment, which, considering how easy a lot of these bosses are going to be at this point and how simple it is to fight some of them, gives us a lot of collectibles in a very short period of time. For Magdali, they're pretty easy to find. In the Lizardmen fight, the gold Essamon is still in the pool just like it was the first time around, but that's much more difficult to take care of because you can't stay in the arena after you kill the Lizardman, so you have to do it while he's floating around trying to hit you. It's actually kind of interesting how this breaks the Lizardman's attack script, because it was originally written at a situation where you didn't have the ability to swim. which means he's basically stabbing at our position in the water as if we were on the surface. That's why he keeps poking up at us. Oh god, he's following us. Run away. It's still got that stupid filter effect from the original variation of Yuri's Dream. It just basically teleports us to his boss arena. So they put up the same stupid interface screw. There's the tummy up fragments. There's one other little detail about how you can break this fight with items we weren't expected to have when we fought him the first time. As it turns out, anytime you hit him, it interrupts his attack pattern and forces him to start over. So if I just use the Arbalest and shoot into the water, he can't do anything. This is relevant because one of the later challenges is a timed boss rush, which is also why we want our weapons at level 4. Anyway, that was pretty boring. Moving on to the Snow Giant. We'll be here very briefly because we're just going to pick up the tummy up fragments on the edge of the room and Gold Essamon, which is on the other side, and move on to the next fight. Most of the time the collectibles are just sort of scattered around the arena. It's only a very few rare ones like a lizard now where you actually go through some trouble. For some reason when I fought him that time, he spawned those stupid little wreath guys way more often. The fight was way harder than it was when I was fighting it originally on the first run through Santa's Dream. Anyway, back to Casey. There's the tummy up fragments on the tree, or behind the tree rather, and the Gold Essamon is in a really weird spot. I think it's possible to fall off this thing, but you have to go right up to the edge to get the Gold Essamon. Another thing to note is that the hammer is really good for doing damage to Casey while he's recovering from his stun. So that'll be relevant in the boss rush. Lastly is the Statue Knight. Only bosses that give us tummy up pieces and HP ups count in the boss rush. So these are the only 5 we can fight now. The rest we'll have to wait until we encounter them in the story. This guy is exactly the same. Oops, that is not the right weapon. Basically makes him the longest out of all the enemies to fight because he's the only one, or one of the only ones, that doesn't take damage from a weapon, meaning we can't make the fight faster by leveling our weapon up to 4 and doing double damage to him. You actually have to just do this stupid water thing the whole time. Lastly, we can fight Sarti one more time. He's exactly the same, and I wouldn't have shown this at all, but as it turns out, once we kill him again, even faster than usual now that we have level 4 weapons, any minute now, he gives us another piece of Dream Energy, which is weird because he gave us one already for beating him the first time, and there's no difference in this fight whatsoever. I was actually kind of concerned at first that I might have broken the script of the game and gotten an extra piece of Dream Energy. If we happen to have 101 for some reason at the end, then this is why. Also, he boots you out of the dream all over again, which is a bit strange. You don't even get the option to go back and fight weak guys or strong guys or go back to the menu or anything. Anyway, that's all we can do in Sarti's Dream for now, so let's head back to the beach. Why are we heading back to the beach? That's a good question. Are we going to see Santa? Let's go see if he's still there. No, he is not. For the purpose of this cutscene, he got booted out. Hell, he knows where he is. He's probably drinking in the cafe. What we want is Chiffon again. I know. Didn't get enough of her the first 2 times around. Something's up with this girl. She got hit with a double dose of emo, because even though we solved her sort of internal struggle the first time around, she's still got a problem. She's not dying anymore of pure despair, but we still must go deeper. The hotel, eh? That seems like our favorite place. Why not? This is really stretching Stompy's newfound Good Samaritanism. Although, again, we picked up very few collectibles and very little treasure in our first run through Chiffon's Dream, so hopefully this time around we'll be able to do a much better job of making it to 100% completion. Back at the hotel, let's go check out her room again. Is she asleep? Well, I mean, we know she's asleep. We can see her on our little stalker map. Almost excited to be here. Alright, well, we're going to help Chiffon sing again, back into Chiffon's Dream. You know I love this level. We'll check it out on the next episode of Let's Play Dual Hearts. And I will see you then.